My name is Shanna, residing in a cozy suburban home with my beloved 4-year-old son Jeremiah and my husband Darwin, with whom I've shared 6 fulfilling years of marriage. Our household runs on shared responsibilities for both chores and childcare, and I put in dedicated effort every day. Jeremiah, a joyfully gentle and well-mannered child, brings immense happiness, while Darwin's unwavering support eases the demands of my professional life. With Jeremiah settling into kindergarten smoothly and thriving, each day brims with his infectious delight. Amidst this contentment, one concern occasionally nags at me, a prominent figure among the kindergarten parents who assumes a leadership role among moms. I first noticed her a month after Jeremiah started kindergarten, during a routine pickup. That mom over there, isn't she a bit overbearing? I stood by the gate, waiting for my son to emerge when I overheard nearby women chatting. Initially, I thought I misheard, but they were gossiping about another parent. The leader of the group spoke with an air of authority, her followers giggling in agreement. Seriously, she dresses so old-fashioned. Doesn't she care about her appearance? Yeah, like Jody always says. The name Jody stood out among them. Since my husband and I took turns picking up our son, I hadn't encountered her before. Normally, I avoided such conversations, but in that moment, I couldn't hold back. Excuse me, but that's really not appropriate to say. I spoke up calmly, addressing them as I would a child. The atmosphere instantly chilled, the leader's face stiffened, and her followers paled. Just as the central mom was about to reply, my son dashed over. Mommy, today was so much fun. As her son leaped into her arms, the woman abruptly left. At the time, I sensed a lingering awkwardness, but the incident foreshadowed what would happen the very next day. To my surprise, I found myself unexpectedly leading my son's kindergarten activities from then on. It might be challenging, but I think I'll adjust within a month. Nah, I've already coordinated with everyone at work. If I manage my time well, it should be fine. Fortunately, my job's flexibility allowed me to arrange my schedule. After notifying my colleagues of my planned absences, I rushed out of the office and into the kindergarten. Yet as soon as I stepped into the parking lot, a sense of unease gripped me. I sense the other moms are looking at me and whispering about something. When I glance their way, they quickly avert their eyes, clearly excluding me. Wow, it's been a while since I felt like an outsider. Approaching the whispering group of moms, they scatter like startled birds. I suppress a laugh and choose to wait quietly by the wall for my son. That's Jeremiah's mom. Seems she's quite stylish, isn't she? Their murmurs reach me faintly. It's hard to ignore them, even though I'm unsure if they're discussing me. What's the fuss? She just dresses a bit fancier, that's all. The voice was so loud that I instinctively glanced sideways, meeting Jody's heavily made-up eyes. Inside, I thought, who are you to judge? But kept my thoughts to myself. She smirked knowingly as our gazes locked. Oh dear, I apologize. Did you catch that? Her entourage chuckled at her remark, drawing attention from other moms nearby. Uncertain how to respond, but unwilling to back down, I met Jody's gaze squarely. I'm sorry, I couldn't quite hear you. Your voice was so soft. Could you repeat that? As I expected, my direct challenge unsettled Jody. Those who assert dominance often falter under scrutiny, yet she unexpectedly held her ground. Uh-oh, this isn't good. What should I do now? Is she angry? It feels intimidating. She momentarily backed down but swiftly pivoted to portray me as the aggressor. Her followers caught on, turning away from me and murmuring among themselves. Just as I prepared to respond, Jody's child hurried over. Let's go, there's someone scary here. Upon Jody's command, her followers quickly piled into their cars. Frustration welled up as I watched them depart. One of Jody's companions accidentally tripped, spilling the contents of her bag with a sudden clatter. Oh! Various items scattered across a 6-foot radius, yet none of Jody's group offered assistance as they hurried into their vehicles. Left with no choice, I hurried over to lend a hand. Are you alright? I'm sorry. Hey, hurry up and get in, Jody urged from the open passenger window. Sensing her mother's impatience, the girl beside her burst into tears. Oh, I'm sorry, please don't cry. Hey, is that notebook over there yours too? Yes, it is, I'm sorry. I hurried to retrieve the notebook that had flown the farthest, brushing off the gravel. Jody, visibly agitated as she tapped on the car, finally sighed heavily. That's enough. Don't speak to me ever again. She slammed the window shut. The girl knelt in shock on the ground, and the car sped away, leaving a cloud of dust. Here, is this everything? Wait, what? Perplexed by the girl's tears, my son conveniently returned. I suggested he play with her daughter while I approached Jody. Need a tissue? Yes, please, thank you. Handing her a tissue from a distance, I watched our children playing tag in the park square. As we began chatting, I discovered her daughter was in the same class as Jeremiah. It made me realize my own lack of social interactions. It was then I learned her name was Letitia. Well, I've always just gone with the flow. No, that's perfectly fine. More importantly, among the items that had spilled from her bag earlier, I noticed something intriguing. A limited edition cosmetic prized by aficionados. Are you into cosmetics? I inquired. Letitia's face brightened. Upon closer inspection, I noticed her well-applied makeup, a stark contrast to Jody's style. Yes, I do. I bought this based on a recommendation from an app I use. She showed me her phone, revealing a familiar logo, an app developed by my company. I hesitated, unsure whether to disclose this information. I heard it's an app from Mr. McLaren's company. I like it because it has great recommendations, although I might need to reconsider using it now. What? Jody's last name is McLaren, but we don't have anyone by that name among our employees. Do you like cosmetics too, Shanna? Just call me Shanna. Yes, I absolutely love them. Despite my curiosity about Jody, I ended up chatting with Letitia for quite some time, letting the children entertain themselves. Before I realized it, 30 minutes had flown by, and I found myself offering Letitia a ride in my car. It marked the first time I'd made a mom friend, and it felt wonderfully natural to converse. Back home, I must have been smiling unconsciously because my husband chuckled. Looks like you had a good time. Yeah, I really did. I made a new parent friend today. I recounted the day's events to my husband. He listened with a smile as I shared about Letitia, but his expression darkened when I mentioned Jody. It turned out he knew about her and shared various rumors, like how she had pressured mothers into school-related responsibilities they disliked, or her reputation for intimidating others with harsh words. There was even a story about her allegedly isolating a mother and her child in school, prompting them to transfer. I know you're strong, but it might be wise to limit your interactions with her. I've heard rumors that she's excluded children from activities before. Really? Okay, thanks for letting me know. I was intrigued by my husband's cautionary words, though I didn't dwell on them initially. After all, Jody wasn't a business associate. She was someone I'd likely encounter throughout my life. But soon, the situation evolved into something I couldn't easily dismiss. Sometime after forming a bond with Letitia's family, Jody unexpectedly approached me. We hadn't exchanged a glance since our initial encounter. I've heard about you, she began. Wondering what she could possibly know to seek me out in the parking lot, I waited, puzzled. Jody's smirk revealed her intent. You're some big shot at a company, right? No wonder you drive such a fancy car. I pondered who could have leaked such information to her. By referring to some company, Jody might not have known the specifics of my role. Stepping out of my car, I found myself swiftly surrounded by Jody and her clique. With her arms folded, Jody motioned towards me. What do you want? You. I'll let you into our circle. Let's be friends from now on. I never expressed any interest in joining her circle, though. That thought lingered as I recalled my husband's advice. Endure if it's just me facing exclusion, but protect Jeremiah from any harm at all costs. Maybe I should play along for now, I mused, deciding to respond casually. Oh, thank you. I'm glad, I replied without much emotion, but Jody appeared satisfied with my response. She promptly arranged to have lunch with me the next day, leaving in high spirits with her entourage. What was that all about? I muttered to myself, already feeling disheartened at the thought of lunch with them. Just then, I sensed someone watching me. Turning around, I spotted Letitia observing me from a distance. Since that incident, she had been excluded from Jody's circle. Letitia, why are you hiding over there? I'm sorry, Shanna. Letitia confided in me that Jody had called her the previous night and interrogated her about me. Inadvertently, Letitia revealed that I held a position as a company president. I'm sorry. I think Jody might be planning to take advantage of you. Apparently, she has a history of exploiting the weakest member of the group by making them foot the bill for lunches and parties. Up until now, that person has been Letitia. What's that all about? While I initially believed it wise to keep my distance from Jody, I couldn't stand by while she mistreated Letitia, such a kind person. I resolved to alter my approach. We'll be connected to this kindergarten for another 3 years. If we have another child, it'll be even longer. With Jody's family having multiple children, if I'm going to be involved with them for so long, maybe it's better to take a stand. But I'd just been invited to join that group, I told Letitia, seeing despair wash over her face, almost bringing her to tears. So, we won't be able to talk anymore, right? Jody apparently forbids group members from interacting with any moms she's excluded. It's shocking how controlling she can be. No, that's not true at all. I just wanted to surprise everyone. I really don't think this is appropriate. The following day, the cafe where I had been invited for lunch happened to be conveniently close to my office. Jody had commandeered the terrace seating, positioning herself at the center. You know, you have quite the stylish look. It suits you well, of course. Being a CEO must be quite something. I bet you work hard and earn well, right? Despite her occasional patronizing tone, I wasn't in the mood for this conversation today. Speaking of which, that app is really gaining popularity these days. Outside the cafe, a large billboard atop a nearby building prominently displayed an advertisement for our company's app. This prompted me to broach the topic. Yes, it's quite popular these days. In fact, my husband recently joined that company. Oh, really? Did he just switch jobs? He was offered a tempting position and made the move. You should join us for his job celebration. As expected, she took the bait. However, her statements contained several inaccuracies. To clarify, her husband hadn't started working there yet. He had only received an offer with his first day scheduled for next week. Furthermore, he hadn't been headhunted, he had applied independently. They probably assumed I was unaware, but I happen to be quite knowledgeable about that company. Oh, I'm sorry, I have to leave now, I said, excusing myself. You're quite busy as a CEO, huh? Take care, Jody remarked with a smile. Perplexed by her words, I tilted my head slightly, prompting a disbelieving smile from Jody. You may be the CEO, but you're still the newest member here, right? So I think you should cover the bill. It became clear that Letitia's concerns were justified. They evidently viewed me merely as someone to foot the bill. The conversation had turned into mean-spirited gossip, leaving me feeling disgusted by the way Letitia was targeted. Masking my feelings with a forced smile, I settled the bill and left. Everything is set now. All that's left is to deliver the final blow. At Jody's husband's job transfer celebration that evening, I approached him. Mr. McLaren, burning the midnight oil on your first day, boss? I'm sorry, just a bit longer. I really want to get up to speed quickly. It was Mr. McLaren's inaugural day at work, and he appeared somewhat cautious. Much like during his interview, he seemed entirely unremarkable. How about we all go out for drinks to mark your first day? I'll invite everyone. I'd love to, but my wife has already arranged a dinner to celebrate my job change. I'm sorry, can we do it next week? I knew he wouldn't show up. Besides, I was acquainted with his wife. I had made a reservation at an upscale steakhouse, coincidentally, where I was also invited. Leaving the office, I picked up Letitia in my car, and we headed to the restaurant. You took your time, didn't you? The event has already begun, Letitia remarked as she got in. My goodness, the star of the evening should be her husband, yet the party is already underway. Upon entering the restaurant, Jody's gaze immediately fell on Letitia, and she visibly scowled. What a grump. You weren't supposed to be here, were you? Well, I just happened to run into her and invited her. I apologize. Could you please order a drink? Jody and her group had occupied the larger table, while Letitia and I found ourselves at a separate table for two. Jody ignored us completely, absorbed in her own conversation. If I hadn't brought Letitia, would I be sitting alone in the corner? Oh well, it doesn't matter. Okay. After chatting with Letitia for about 30 minutes, Jody glanced back as if suddenly remembering, a malicious smile clearly directed at us. Here, you'll take care of the bill, boss, Jody said, her entourage chuckling along. I joined in with a laugh. It was all too predictable. Sure, no problem. Since you're part of the group now, it's only fair. Oh, he'll be arriving shortly, Jody added. At that moment, I excused myself and headed down the hallway toward the restroom. Eavesdropping discreetly, I overheard Jody's husband entering the restaurant. Hey everyone, sorry for the delay. Let's celebrate this new chapter together. Since you've joined that company, everyone's been downloading the app. Despite their evident indulgence in food and drinks, diverting attention from the guests of honor, I couldn't help but think, thanks for downloading the app, but isn't this place a bit too extravagant? Don't worry about it. The new mom will foot the bill, someone quipped. Must be nice to be rich, another chimed in, sparking laughter from the group. Before I could return to my seat, they began toasting without me. I sighed quietly as I slipped back to my seat on the outskirts of the room. By chance, I ended up behind Mr. McLaren, positioned just right so he couldn't see me. You know what I think? Men and women should have distinct roles. I believe, she stated loudly enough for me to hear. This was one of Jody's recurring topics. You see, if a mom isn't at home, the kids are bound to suffer, right? Besides, I don't think women can handle work responsibilities effectively. Now, hold on. My current boss is actually a woman, I interjected. Exactly my point. I'm sure you'd do a better job if you were in charge, Jody retorted. That was the final straw for me. I couldn't contain my laughter, and Jody shot me a glare. What's so funny? It's the truth. I don't know what kind of company you're accustomed to, but those beliefs are better left in the past. What? No, I'm sorry, but the app my company created seems to be used by all of you, and it's doing great, I asserted. Jody's expression twisted at my words. Mr. McLaren, perplexed, turned to me, his face draining of color. What nonsense are you talking about? He asked. That's enough. Jody interjected sharply. Just pay up and leave. Hey, why are you talking to the boss like that? Great job today, Mr. McLaren. Congratulations on the new job. Noticing my empty glass, Mr. McLaren hurriedly brought over a beer bottle. I politely declined, observing Jody's expression contorting further. Her followers, unable to grasp the situation, murmured in confusion. Mr. McLaren apologized profusely, almost bowing his head in regret. Ma'am, President, my wife has been terribly rude. I apologize sincerely, he said with urgency. No, this is unacceptable, Jody retorted sharply. Just kidding, I interjected with a light-hearted tone, trying to diffuse the tension. Mr. McLaren grasped onto me, continuing to apologize fervently. Quickly, I apologized and returned to ease the atmosphere. Let's ensure this doesn't spoil the evening, I added, attempting to lighten the mood. Shanna, you'll still be friends with us, right? You're not really going to fire my husband, are you? Jody said, her smile dripping with flattery. Considering her large family, losing her husband's job would be quite a blow, she continued. No worries, I won't be letting him go, I assured her. My Jeremiah hasn't taken a liking to me, has he? She asked rhetorically, then added sharply, Oh, excuse me, Letitia, you're in the way. Jody tried to push Letitia aside, who was standing beside me. What a distasteful person. Let's go, leave this mediocre woman behind, Jody sneered. You'll still be friends with me, won't you? I asked pointedly. No, the mediocre one here is you. Letitia is my dear friend, she's a far better person than you, I asserted firmly. Jody's voice rose in anger, her demeanor turning furious. I quickly apologized to the restaurant owner and settled everyone's bill. Mr. McLaren, we look forward to having you with us starting next week, I said to Mr. McLaren, who was trying to calm his wife. Afterward, Letitia and I had a simple celebration together. Following that evening, Jody's group disbanded. None of her followers wanted to align with her after witnessing her behavior. She began avoiding me and gradually fell out of favor in social circles. A month later, her demeanor had noticeably changed, becoming more subdued. She attempted to integrate into other mom groups without success, but that's not my concern. Meanwhile, Letitia and I maintained our friendship, continuing to gather with our families during holidays. My relationship with McLaren remained strictly professional, unaffected by personal matters. Observing his dedication, I couldn't help but wonder if the incident that night had motivated him further. Regardless, taking a firm stand from the outset seemed to have paid off. Perhaps in human relationships, asserting oneself is indeed crucial for success.